bigger picture.
I've collected 500 billion, and I can only show you borehole.
It's politics.
For me, it is what I call Iberberism. I beg your pardon. Go and search for it, my friend.
It's current affairs.
4 years course, metamorphosing into 6 years.
And news that
Affects you.
What an academic academic yo in their leadership rococo, leadership brababare.
It's all the serious stuff.
But with a light-hearted twist.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Oboh.
Join us 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Right here.
On Hard Facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
Shakumaku, everybody. I'm Oboh, and it is a great day to be alive and rocking. Weather is just 28 degrees in Lagos. I don't see any rains coming up, but who knows? Things can start to happen very quickly, especially if you're not in Kano, where Hamatan is arriving very quickly too.
My goodness, last night was a horror. Well, not a horror. I mean, the rain was great. It's the morning after that was the horror. Having to drive through my estate gates that have been submerged under the floods. Well, okay, fine. My estate isn't submerged, but you get the picture. It's pretty bad. Anyways, happy International Rural Women's Day. Today's a day where we acknowledge all the contributions that rural women are making to our economy and society. And we also raise awareness about the challenges they face. We're a country that is still mostly rural, and almost all of us have families still living in the village. So there are rural women in all our families. And today, it should hit home for all of us.
I wonder why it's called rural women. Why don't they say women who live in rural areas?
Good question, Aghogho.
Because I think many times when people say rural women or, that sort of thing, it's said in a derogatory way to imply that their eyes haven't opened to civilization. And so all the things that have to go bad.
But have their eyes open to civilization?
Well, that's a matter of conjecture. Well, if your society becomes a necropolis,
if you don't have decent hospitals or decent schools, can you say that your eyes have opened to civilization? If you're still cooking with firewood, for instance, can an argument be made that you have witnessed civilization?
Well, it could be. It could be. There are urban areas that live like rural areas. If you close your eyes
can they be called urban areres?
Exactly. If you close your eyes,
if they live in like rural areas, can they be called urban areas?
Yeah. So many parts of Lagos are more like slums and squatter settlements. The fact people don't have access to water, don't have access to good roads, don't have access to good schools. So the so-called urban areas have become rural areas to some way. I mean, people have gas. Cooking gas in their home. People cook with kerosene and all that stuff. But that's an argument for another day, I can imagine.
Oh, thank you for tuning into Hard Facts. Aghogho and I are here every week to give you the best insights into today's most important topics. Every weekday, we bring them to you, we break them down, and like I say, we give you the facts, and you can form an informed opinion. And any show you miss, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter via our Nigeria Info page. We've got a great show today. We're starting with the big three as always. We're looking at reactions to the border closure, and we're assessing its effects on the big three. Also on the big three, 360 people were rescued from an abusive rehab center. And Labour and government met today to discuss minimum wage implementation. That strike is still looming. What's on Community Report, Aghogho?
Yeah, so Chukwudi is out at Okobaba at Ebutemeta, and he is looking at the deplorable condition. I don't know what you could call them inmates, but people who are living in this home, unfortunately, have been living in terrible conditions for some time. So he's going to be with them, and he will tell, he'll help us tell their story. And he's going to be there for at least 2 weeks. He'll do this week, and then the upper week there, where we can have a closer look into the sort of conditions people in this home at Okobaba are living with.
And on the big hard facts, let's have that conversation about rural women. International Day for Rural Women. The theme this year is rural women and girls building climate resilience. We're going to have a guest on the phone who works with Oxfam International. He's a project manager there. And we'll wrap up with I Beg to Differ. As usual, throughout the show, we're bringing you the latest updates from the world of news, sports, entertainment, business. All of that is happening right here on Hard Facts, but let's get right into the big three.
This is the Big Three
The Big Three on Hard Facts.
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
You know what to expect on the big three stories that everyone's talking about right now. Will the border closure help or harm the economy? Will we ever get to a point where we get better care, where we have better care for our addicts? And do you support government or labor in this minimum wage struggle? The federal government has ordered the complete closure of Nigeria's land borders. Customs boss Hamid Ali announced the new policy, stating that no goods, whether legal or illegal, would be allowed to enter or leave the country across its land borders. Ali said the policy is intended to eradicate smuggling, to protect local producers of rice and other crops, and to aid in the fight against insecurity. Ali said goods can still move out of the country and into the country through the sea and airports, where the government would be able to scan and inspect them. Ali also said that the ultimate aim would be for Nigeria and her neighbors to agree on what goods should and should not enter the country. No movement, Aghogho, no movement.
Yeah, no movement. And the argument whether this will be permanent or temporary appears to be stretching by far. And Minister of Finance and Zainab Ahmed was asked this question, whether this was going to be a permanent closure. And she said, sort of Nigeria first in the way the government intends to handle this whole thing. And gradually, many of the West African neighboring countries have begun to feel the pinch. Foremost has been the Republic of Benin, which is direct Nigeria's neighbor on the western flank. And they've been the most, they've been the biggest opponents of what has happened. And also to just hearing also Ghana has also joined the fray of countries which are complaining, both of them West African countries. Nigerian government has been having, I understand, talks behind the scenes now with the Republic of Benin, saying that they want to make sure that all the agreements signed within the ECOWAS protocol of the free movement of goods and persons are abided by. And it does appear that both sides, that Nigeria and Republic of Benin especially, have agreed that they have that certain obligations on both countries have not been met in the past and has been flouted, unfortunately. And I've seen it firsthand to how this has happened many times. And a number of people who do business on the Nigerian side, especially the Nigerian government, even though we've been making money in time past, have complained with the fact that Nigeria is the final destination for most of this goods. But most of those countries where these goods have landed, if it's in Ghana or in Senegal or Cote d'Ivoire or Republic of Benin, have benefited to Nigeria's loss. So that's on the one hand the threat to ECOWAS as an economic body on the one hand. Of course, the bigger threat is with the African Union's dream of a 2060. But first with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which Nigeria and Benin incidentally signed only just recently.
And to clarify, this is a closure of the land borders. Goods can still come and go by air and by sea. However, as we know, the ports here in Lagos are already congested. Now, a lot of legitimate trade that was going on over land will have to come in by the ports. Already, analysts are predicting that the congestion at the ports and the waiting period for clearing goods are about to increase. Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Statistics has just announced the rate of inflation going up. They've announced that it's gone up since the partial border closure last month. According to NBS, inflation went up by 11.24% last month. The previous rate from August, that's before the closure, was 11.02%. In fact, the rate had been going down for a couple of months before the closure, but now it has spiked up. Now, a change in inflation rate of 0.22% is actually pretty huge, according to a few of the economists that I spoke to before we came on air. And what does inflation mean, really? It simply means that everything is more expensive. Goods and services are now, on average, more expensive. And remember that we've had numerous economists on our show discussing the border closure. We had Nonso Bikili from Business Day, we had Ebehi from Steers Business, and others as well. And they all said the same thing. Our business presenter on Money, Business and Economy, Tunji Andrews, as well. If you close the border or ban imports of certain goods, those goods will become more scarce in the market and their prices will go up. And they make a second point, Aghogho. If those goods are food like rice, an increase in their cost will make every business raise their prices, because every business owner eats food and they need to make enough money from their own goods or their own services to buy rice that is more expensive. So it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's more than a cycle. It's a racket, because even the inflation in the past. Never mind, the month-on-month reduction in inflation rate the last couple of months, but the cost of food in the market, which is the argument of the common man on the street many times, had been still pretty expensive to buy foodstuff in the market. The other day I was at the market to look at how rice was, and I'd seen it move from 15,000 naira a bag to 18,000, somewhere around 22,000. And there's also the argument as we approach Christmas season that the price of foodstuff will definitely start to rise. Whether we have the sufficiency to meet the demand that happens during the period also to something people will look at. So I've also had the argument on the government side in terms of the national interest side of it, and which the customs
boss talked about, Hamid Ali.
Did also point out that there were people on the Nigerian side who were collaborating with the people from the Republic of Benin and also with the smugglers to cost a lot of, because in smuggling we all do suffer, just like with subsidy also too. It's the people who bear the brunt of the whole thing at the end of the day. So when the scarcity happens, as people are mentioning, especially with rice, should look back at how on earth have we allowed this sort of system to flourish, where, just take a walk across the border whenever it's open, the semi-border, and look at how much a bag of rice is, and you cross one leg back into Nigeria, and look at the difference in the same bag of rice that has been moved. That's why I said it's a racket that they have to work against and make sure that, unfortunately, the people who are being ripped off this entire thing are the
final consumers. And there's been a lot of interesting reactions so far. We're going to get your own reactions as well. Tomato farmers in Benin Republic have said that their tomatoes are rotten because they cannot send them here. The Nigerian importers who bring in these goods are also complaining about loss of business. We've seen the inflation figures go up, so prices are going to go up for Nigerians. But there's some good news, for customs. Customs is saying that its daily revenue has gone up to 5 billion naira. 5 billion naira. So basically, people can no longer cross the border. They are going to go to the ports and they are paying customs. So that's money into Nigeria's pocket. But some critics are saying that all of this is happening. All that is happening is government getting more money from importers, but the citizens are paying for it with higher prices. So these critics are saying that government is choosing increased government revenue over cheaper prices for citizens. And then there's another point to note. You have to note this point. These importers can no longer cross the land borders because there are now security agents at all the crossing points. So some people have asked, what if those security agents who are now at the border, instead of stopping importers and exporters, let them pass but collected the custom duties? Wouldn't that still give government the revenue that it's looking for without closing the borders? That's a question you have to answer when you give us a call right now. 012770993, 012771993. 2993 and 3993. Nigeria is a member of ECOWAS, and the ECOWAS treaties guarantees freedom of movement, both of people and goods. Hamid Ali was asked about this, and he said something interesting. He said that security must take priority over rights and freedoms. He used the analogy of Nigerians in the Northeast, and he said that they would pick their lives over any rights. So since life comes first, security must come before rights. And I'm very curious to know what you think about that. You have heard a lot of people agree with that position, but others have said there's no threat to life with this particular situation. Larry is in a solo. I wonder what Larry has to say, but Larry's going to have to call us back for that to happen. We've got Wale up first. Hello, Wale. Thanks for calling us. Welcome, Wale. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Shakumaku.
Hey, Makushi.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Brilliant.
Okay, I want to tell you, I live very close to the border.
Okay.
And then I want to tell you that this government policy is something that should have been done long time ago. The reason is that if you look at what is happening, there's no way any country that cannot feed its people. It's not a country. What happened here around this side is very, very appalling. Can you imagine that we import as low as oranges, pineapple, all sorts of jargons are coming in. Before these things, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Before these things started, we have our own pineapples.
Okay.
All those things have disappeared. Our rice,
Yeah.
let's just be eating our rice. I know that it's a matter of time. You have a little ones that are crossing in collaboration with some of these people. But what government is achieving, they are achieving it in the sense that bulk of it are not coming in. A lot of them are.
Did you use China as one of your examples?
Yes.
You know that
Yes.
China cannot feed its people, right? China imports soybeans and wheat from America. Is China not a country?
But we should not follow something that is very, very bad. We should not look at that bad side.
Okay.
We should not look at that. Nigeria have what it takes to feed
the entire nation.
We have what it takes.
Okay.
Go from Lagos, from Bega to Ibadan. You see everything green. It's bush. People are not planting anything there. It's all rubbish.
Do you plant, Wale?
I plant, yes. I'm a farmer. I'm a banker. I'm a consultant in banking.
Okay.
I have a farm. I have a sheep farm. I have a rear animal. I do everything.
Interesting.
So, yes. So, as far as I'm concerned,
this is a good thing.
A lot of people around here have lost business. I took time to explain to some of them this weekend where I met them, some of these smugglers that convert, and they were saying that, business, they were beginning small before. But now, customs are on the high sea. Even some of these uncovered border areas, they are there. In fact, they arrested some people with over 100 trucks loaded with turkey, all those turkey that have been embalmed with. You see a lot of people having cancers now. I don't know how our people are thinking. Most people will be eating this rubbish.
All right, Wale, thanks for calling to share your thoughts on the show. We wonder if Isaac agrees with you. Isaac, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How
All right,
are you?
I'm brilliant. Go ahead, please.
Government is an agabangabe. You know what they call agabangabe?
You would have to translate that.
Yes. When somebody who is two-edged sword, they are not steady. You have to be one. You have to be, somebody, everybody have to believe. You can't make money and nobody sees the money that you make, and you tell your children that if you are a rich man and they are not in school. Closure of the border is an indictment on the customs. Where have they been? When were there when all these things were passing through the same place they closed?
Well, but now, even legal or illegal things cannot pass through anymore. No more goods allowed via the land border. If goods want to come in, they can come in through the seaports or airports.
It's not done anywhere in the world. There's no place in the world that is done. Let the customs mind their borders, collect revenues from there. They should stop people bringing in those things that are contraband. You don't have to close the border before you can, checkmate it. Smugglers go through the bushes. So all the official, border points should be mined by the customs, by the police, and all of them. Check every consignment that is coming in. Anyone that is not good, you reject it, and they will stop bringing them in. It's simple. They should stop, making. I don't eat foreign rice because it's not healthy. They bring Abakaliki rice from my hometown. I don't need the foreign rice because some of them are contaminated. It's 14 years, 15 years in the silo.
All right, Isaac. Thanks for calling us. Meg is the last call we'll take. Hello, Meg.
Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm very well.
Okay. I wanted to say, I don't even believe that figure that the customs say they are making daily.
Okay.
5 billion. That's not true. I don't think so.
Okay.
And as I speak with you today, I have a customer who has a cold room. She still brings in turkey from the border. And chicken. I said, this afternoon at about 12, I was at her shop. I was asking how far with your business. So it's another racket there for the people who are there to enrich themselves. So don't let's hallucinate. Oh, it's still coming in at a cost. It's not true. I don't think they should totally close the border. I don't think so. Because the truth of the matter is there are also things we export to those people. So closing the border completely is not the solution. We should work around trying to make our structure work so that there can be control and monitoring and proper accountability and payment to the government, even when things come in. That's what they should do, not close the border outrightly. Because like you said, the bag of rice is how much now? How much is it? How many people can afford it? Rice is everything everybody normally would eat. But now, at this rate, what is it? A kilo of turkey used to be 1,000 to 1,300. But today, it's 2,000 per kilo. So it's still coming in. It's well.
It's well, she says. Meg, thanks for calling us. Our second story, the police have raided a rehabilitation center in Daura, Katsina State, where 360 children and men were allegedly held captive in inhumane and abusive conditions. Police Commissioner Mr. Sanusi Buba inspected the center with the press and said the inmates were subjected to dehumanizing conditions. Buba said the condition of the inmates calls for urgent and serious concern, adding that the police will search the 34 local government areas in the state to unravel similar centers. The second one in less than a month, Aghogho. You heard about the first, yes?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I heard about we saw and talked about the first and the horror stories that happened. That was in Kaduna. Next door, Katsina, we're getting a similar story. And what is shocking about this is this has happened in the full glare. Parents, just like in the other one, same MO, send their children to go and get some religious education. And at the end of the day, this is what has happened. And don't be surprised, you'll get copycat of this sort of situation happen in many areas across the northwestern part of the country. And this one strikes close to home because of it's the president's hometown, Daura, where this has happened. And I've been gleaning many of the stories, just trying to understand how on earth parents allow this to happen. I've heard a number of comments from the Muslim, that's Professor Shaka Kintola, who is with the Muslim Rights Center. And some of the things he said, I agree, very, very important that funding be made available to these schools, because without doubt, culture and the way it's been shaped has meant that many parents who cannot afford the schools that the government schools have their children there. And while they wait for the big picture to unravel, where you can have all the children, more children attend those schools than the Islamic schools that are available, the ones that are there need to be regulated, because from most of the comments I've seen from critics and many of the stakeholders has been one that has dwelt on the failure of the state in regulating their schools, because we don't know how many more are out there. These are the ones that have been uncovered. And while they're profiling and they're warehousing those stories that have emerged, we're going to have to deal with hundreds of children who've had their childhood snatched from them in this most gruesome manner.
And the police commissioner said that they will be searching all the local government areas of Katsina State for more rehab centers. And that means that the police think that there are probably more, and it should be a source of public concern if indeed there are so many places where people are kept chained in rooms, sometimes 40 to a room allegedly, and starved and physically abused. But the main question that needs to be asked, and which the police as they investigate will need to answer, is how and why is this happening? Like Aghogho said, we found 2 such places, and obviously the police suspect that there are more. So this means that there must be some societal force at work that is making people feel like they need to set up these places and that they need to bring their loved ones there. So there'll probably be a need to conduct serious investigation into the social causes. And then government will probably have to engage with traditional rulers, religious leaders and other stakeholders to partner with them and create awareness and dissuade people from this. And at the same time, questions also have to be asked about how such facilities, if you want to call them that, could go for weeks and months undetected by the authorities. 360 people allegedly being held captive in inhumane conditions for so long, and nobody with any authority knew about it. It was only discovered when some kids escaped. It's really mind-boggling. And Emir was interviewed. Did you catch that interview, Aghogho?
No, I didn't see the interview.
And he said, I had no idea that this was happening. And he's the traditional ruler of the place.
And this even has some international dimension, because I'm understanding too that we have children that have come in from the Republic of Niger as well as from Chad. So this is perhaps the biggest open secret in town for them. The authorities say they had no idea this was going. I mean, you have children from all parts of the country. I'm looking at some of the states. You've had the children travel from as far as the northeast and the northwest. And for things that you probably would have imagined that the children could have been dealt with, agree, social vice and the rest of them. But how on earth is a child supposed to be weaned off drug addiction by going to this sort of school? Chained for hours and then beaten. Some of them got marks on their bodies. There's also evidence that they also may have suffered sexual harassment while in
sexual
the custody.
abuse.
Abuse rather, in the custody of these people. So it's huge, unfortunately, and we would love to see how they address this one, because unfortunately many times this has happened in the past, and there's been no closure. We've been left in the dark on how the children have recovered, whether the people, the proprietors, and whoever is in charge of this school
were
ever
arrested,
brought,
persecuted,
and faced the law. Because for this to continue, it does show something that the people within the area trust these people more than the people who were supposed to provide them education or whatever service that for the children.
Let's bring you into the conversation. How come abusive situations can occur at this scale without the authorities being aware? Do we have a cruelty problem in our society? Are there enough good options available for caring for the mentally ill or rehabilitating drug addicts? Because this is mind-boggling. How widespread do you think this inhumane treatment of substance abuse victims in the name of rehab is? 01277 0993. You can still talk about the first story that we addressed today on the Big Three. 01277 1993 2993 and 3993. We've got Mr. Peter up first. Hello, Mr. Peter.
Yes, I want to react to this inhuman treatment.
Yes, go ahead. You're live on the show.
You see, this thing did not start. This one, is it 100 and something people or so?
360.
360. They were not taking India in one day.
Yes.
They were not taking India in 1 month.
Okay.
Neither were they taking India within 6 months. This thing has been on for years. The uniform men must have been seeing it. If not many, 1 or 2 people must have seen it. The people living around, they are aware of it. The traditional rulers or leaders, they are aware of it.
Okay.
So this is another part of slavery, the worst slavery so far. And I'm a police. I've seen it on the telly when they showed this on the telly. Some of them are in chains. I'm expecting police. I've been expecting police to say we have arrested so many amount of people who are running these centers, but nothing has that has come up. Why are they telling all this? They should arrest people. There are people running these centers. They should get them arrested. Then put them in detention for trial. A lot is happening. Forget about apart from the human trafficking. This is the worst. This is worse than that human trafficking. Look at those people that they show them on the screen. You shed tears while you see them. A lot is going on in this country.
It is
it's only,
sad.
It's only God has
Mr. Peter, thanks for calling. We have Remy. Let's talk to Remy, who's been calling us. Hello.
Hello, Sandra.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Aghogho, how are you doing?
I'm brilliant. Please go on.
Yeah. I think I choose to believe what was it called? The rehabilitation center they claimed it to be, isn't it to me? I think it is the Alemajiri kind of system, and it is known to the community. And I want to say the elite in the northern region has failed their people. I have never seen a rich man in northerner whose child or children is part of the system, but you keep seeing the poor. That aside, the issue of border closure, the other guy who said he's a banker, he has a farm and all that, I should have asked him, how much does he sell his own product? If I can buy something cheaper, something imported into this country, cheaper, compared to the one being made here, I'll go for the cheaper one. So it is common sense telling me I must buy from within. What if I don't have the means? And the rate of crime is increasing. A few days ago, something happened in my area. And it's happening on a daily basis now, the way it is going. So the more people find it hard to feed, the more they resort into crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Remy, for calling. Our final call is from Maxwell in Ikeja. Maxwell, hello.
Yeah, good morning. Good afternoon, Sandra.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
God bless you. You're coming back again.
Good.
I want to talk about the Dura. I already see in the television. Those children, they are naked. And they want to complain now that they have wounds. They will use stone to scrape them the wounds to the extent that the blood will be coming out. They will be beating them. So it's nothing like they say that it's school. It's nothing like school there. They are training them. They are, in fact, it's a slavery. You understand me? So and I believe that they know about all these things. They are training them. They are training them like in the form of I don't even understand. You understand me? Then we talk about the border closed. About the border. The border is not closed because you are still contraband coming in. Like foreign rice, you buy foreign rice like at 15,000 half bags. That kind of a thing, and they stock it chicken all over the town.
How much is half bag of rice? Did you say?
Half foreign rice. I bought a quarter bag like 13,000. 13 in the supermarket. If we buy some contraband like knockout, all those things, they are still coming in. I don't know the border they are closing off. I don't even understand.
Well, this information is good because they're listening, so I'm sure they'll plug all the other holes.
I don't even know. But I want to ask, are they passing this message through to the government when we are speaking?
Yes, of course. Government officials are always listening.
Because like this Duramata, this was more than child trafficking. This one, if you see those children, my sister, in fact, the boy now said that if after beating them, if they were needed to die, they will use stone to scrape that place and the blood will not coming out again. I don't know.
It's quite sad, Maxwell.
For President Village, our President Village.
Well, that kind of thing happens everywhere. If we're being honest, you go to a place like Akwa Ibom, and I'm sure there are parts of Lagos here where it's happening, where you have children who are locked up because they've been accused of witchcraft.
Yeah, so orientation has to change.
Yeah,
I mean, there's several. I've been to some place around the Ogun State there where they chain people to try to get them off drug addiction.
Exactly. So
many places we
do a lot of
some with mental health
things.
problems. They got them chained to trees and all of that. So we have to keep talking about to stop this, especially from the parents and the guardians who take them to these
places. Our final story: the federal government and organized labor resumed talks today about how all civil service salaries should change to reflect the new minimum wage. Now, while government and labor both agree on the increase of the minimum wage to 30,000 naira, they disagree on the so-called consequential adjustment, which is how much of a raise in each pay in each level of the service should receive. How much raise in pay each level of the service should receive. The Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have both said that they will embark on an indefinite strike if government does not meet their demands. And they insist that plans and mobilization for the strike are ongoing. Aghogho, you think this is going to happen?
Well, never say never. I've been on standby to cover and to report on national strikes like this, and then at 2 a.m. or how they say that thing, on holy hours, is when you start to hear the announcement that a breakthrough has finally happened.
And these negotiations go back to before the elections.
Oh yes. So this will happen. We don't know many times what happens at the corridors. They say one thing now, but you know how fluid this story gets. By the time we're out of hard facts, maybe something else will change. But the consequences are huge if we shut down for even just a single day. An economy that's already struggling, and then you have people stay off work. The impact will be massive.
And I remember that when this was happening last year, Aghogho, you and I talked about it here on Hard Fact. We talked about this consequential adjustment thing. We predicted on Hard Facts that if government and labor do not discuss the naira and kobo of the consequential adjustment at that time, while the minimum wage bill was being passed, they would have problems resolving it later. And now here we are. You know, both sides agreeing, oh yes, minimum wage is good, but the higher your level, the more it should be adjusted. That's one. We don't know whether we go feed Duam. Now, Nigerians often say that when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Labor and government are the elephants, and if they do go on strike, a huge chunk of the economy gets shut down. Government offices, schools, manufacturing, some parts of the formal economy. Nigerians don't like that idea, but would like to hear your thoughts on this particular matter. Does the minimum wage increase and its consequential adjustment benefit you directly or indirectly? Is minimum wage something that you believe labor should go on strike because of? Who do you think should compromise more, the government or labor? 01277 0993 01277 1993 01277 2993 and 01277 3993. We've got Chief Larry on the line. Well, that's not Chief Larry, that's Innocent. Okay. All right, let's talk to Innocent, who may be at the airport. Innocent, hello.
Hello, Sandra.
Thanks for calling. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good day. I want to talk about the incident in Katsina State.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to say it's very appalling. This is last 2 weeks ago. It happened in Katsina State. And here again, it happened again in Katsina. So these things are, it's only the government needs to look into all these things, and it's an evil to train children that are sent for training, and for you train and begin to maltreat them. Look at them in the television, you will shed tears. So it's very, very bad, and at this point in time in our history, we are still into slavery. Even this one is even more than human trafficking. So government should wake up. It's like there's no government again in Nigeria. And again, on the issue of border closure, I think the government has no business closing border because it's not done anywhere in the world. The customs must do their work. That's their work, to ensure that contraband goods are not imported into the country. So there's no need to close border and it affects also the economy of the country, closing of border. They should go and check very well.
All right, Innocent.
That's my take.
Thanks for sharing it. Martins is in Shomolu. Martins is our last call. Hello, Martins.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sandra.
Good afternoon.
My name is Martin. I'm calling from Shomolu.
Go ahead.
Now, I quickly want to talk on two things. One, on this minimum wage thing. You see, I listened to your program a lot, and I learned a lot from the analysis. My challenge is that they compare Nigeria with South Africa. South Africa has budget 4 times that of Nigeria. The population is about a third of Nigeria. Now, how much is a South African senator earning? When it comes to paying money to an average Nigerian, they tell us, oh, the economy is not good, the numbers are not good, the budget is so and so. If you check South Africa, that is 4 times our economy in terms of budget. You will discover that their senators are earning far less. The second part I don't understand about this government is that, okay, you want to close border. That's the second part I want to talk about, and now I don't understand. You want to close border. Why don't you announce that on so day I will close border? There are people doing legitimate businesses. Some people have spent money to import something or to export something. These things got trapped at the border and their money wasted. What kind of country is this? You just take policy, you don't consider what happens. It is when you want to give something to the poor man that you realize that the budget is small, the economy is fragile. If they are serious, let them do something. I mean, if you reduce that, if we keep talking, not only National Assembly, State Houses of Assembly, all of them, you are a governor for only 4 years, and then you have pension for life, equivalent to what you are earning. A civil servant who has worked 30 years does not get 1/3 of what he's earning as pension when he leaves. What kind of wickedness is this? Thank you.
Martins, thanks for calling. We've got a final message to take from WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, we've got a number of messages. I take this one from Read One. He says, I think this policy is a good one and will surely be a profitable one for the government, economy, and our local farmers and producers who are always being downside by the flock of imported goods.
Okay. Well, let's go over to our newsroom. Godwin waiting with the business news.
It's 4 o'clock.
And now the business news.